table. This instruction video is to be used as an assembly guide in conjunction with the assembly manual which was provided with the table. Please read the manual prior to assembly and retain the manual for future reference. We recommend that the table be assembled by 2 adults. Tools are required for assembly of table. Please refer to the assembly manual for a list of required tools. In step 1, you are assembling the red footlock to the wheel holder for the locking wheel assembly. Install the red footlock to the wheel holder. Insert the slotted end of the drift pin into the footlock and wheel holder. Lightly tap the drift pin into place with a hammer, or a set of pliers could be used to squeeze the pin into place. Ensure the drift pin is fully inserted. Repeat this step for the other footlock. In step 2, you are assembling the wheel holders to the wheelbase. Notice that the wheelbase has a flange on one side. The side with the flange is the inside of the wheelbase. Each base takes one locking wheel assembly and one non-locking assembly. When facing the outside of the wheelbase, the locking wheel will be on the right side and the non-locking wheel will be on the left side. Slide one 16mm washer on the bolt. Insert the bolt into the wheelbase and slide the 25mm washer on the bolt. Slide on the locking wheel holder assembly. Spacer sleeve. Another 16mm washer, and thread the cap nut on bolt. Using a 13mm socket, tighten the nut and bolt. Assemble a non-locking wheel holder to the base and then repeat the step for the remaining base. In step 3, you are assembling the non-locking wheels. Assemble to the wheel holder by sliding a washer onto the bolt and inserting the bolt into the wheel. Slide another washer onto the bolt and insert the bolt through the wheel holder. This is then followed by another washer, the wheel, washer, and nut. Using a 13mm socket, tighten the bolt and nut. Be careful not to over-tighten the wheels. If the wheels are too tight, the table will not roll easily. Repeat this step for the other non-locking wheel assembly. In step 4, you are assembling the locking wheels. Assemble the wheel to the wheel holder by following the same procedure done in step 3. However, ensure that the grooves of the locking wheels face each other when assembled to the wheel holder. Using a 13mm socket, tighten the wheel assembly. Again, do not over-tighten the wheels. Repeat this step for the other locking wheel assembly. To lock the wheels, push the red footlock down. Keep the wheels locked for the remaining assembly steps. In Assembly Step 6, you are installing a shim and net post to the wheelbase. Line the flat side of the shim up with the holes on the outside of the wheelbase. Insert the net post into the shim and wheelbase. Repeat this step for the other wheelbase. In Step 7, you are bolting the net post to the wheelbase. Insert the square nuts into the slots on the net post. Insert bolts through the wheelbase and thread into the nuts. Tighten the bolts by using a 10mm socket. Step 8 is repeating the same assembly for the other wheelbase. In Step 9, you are assembling the alignment and locking struts to the wheelbase. Press the M5 lock nuts into the alignment strut. The flat side of the nut should be pushed in, leaving the round end of the nut exposed. Align the strut up with the inside of the wheelbase. There are 2 bolts pre-assembled to the strut. Line up the strut so that these bolts go through the holes located on the flange of the wheelbase. Slide a washer onto the M5 by 65mm bolt. Insert the bolt through the upper hole in the wheelbase and thread it into the nut which has been pressed into the alignment strut. Repeat this for the lower hole as well. Tighten the bolts using an 8mm socket. Thread the M6 brass lock nuts onto the threads of the pre-assembled bolts. Tighten the bolt and nut using a 10mm socket on each side. Repeat this step for the other wheelbase. In Step 10, you are connecting the round crossbar to the wheelbases to the table's chassis. Slide the washer onto the bolt and insert into the wheelbase. Slide the spacer sleeve onto the crossbar. Thread the crossbar onto the bolt. Hold the crossbar while you tighten the bolt with a 13mm socket. Repeat this step for the other side. In Step 11, you are placing the J-bars onto the crossbar in preparation for the next step. Slide the J-bar with safety lever onto the right side and the J-bar without lever onto the left. 2 adults are needed for the remaining assembly steps. Please proceed with care. In Step 12, you will be assembling the J-bars and crossbars to the wheelbase. With assistance, place one of the tabletops onto the frame. lower the support leg. While one person is supporting the table, insert the crossbar with J-bar attached through the support leg. Slide spacer sleeve onto the crossbar. Slide the washer onto the bolt and insert the bolt into the wheelbase. Thread the bolt into the crossbar. You may need to lower the table slightly in order for the holes to line up. Tighten the bolt using a 13mm socket. Repeat assembly for the other side. Attach red hand grip to the safety lever. In step 13, you are inserting plugs into the oval crossbar. Press the nut into the plug as shown. Press one plug into each end of the crossbar. In step 14, you're assembling the J-bars and safety lever to the leg. To begin the step, lift the safety lever up and out of the way. Slide a black washer onto the M6 by 100mm bolt and insert through the J-bar. Slide spacer sleeve onto the bolt. Insert the bolt through the leg and into the crossbar. You may need to lower the tabletop slightly in order for the holes to line up properly. Tighten the bolt using a 10mm socket. Secure the safety lever to the leg by inserting the M6 by 55mm shoulder bolt through the lever. Slide an M6 washer onto the bolt. Insert the bolt through the leg, slide on a washer, and thread the cap nut onto the bolt. Tighten the bolt and nut using a flathead screwdriver and 10mm socket. In step 15, you are securing the locking struts to the support leg. Insert the bolt through the locking strut. Slide washer onto the bolt. Insert the bolt through the support leg. Slide on a washer and thread nut onto the bolt. Tighten with a flathead screwdriver and a 10mm socket. Repeat for the other side. In step 17, you are assembling the side shroud to the wheelbase. Align side shroud to the wheelbase. Screw the shroud into place. To properly open the table, press the thumb latch down on the left locking strut. Squeeze the lower portion of the right locking strut handle and hold the table firmly as you lower it into position. Do not let the tabletop drop down. To properly fold the table, press the safety lever up and lift top. Once the top is halfway up, you can release the lever and continue to fold the top. Thread the black thumb screw into the net post. Insert one J-pin into the fabric slot on each end of the net. Place a J-pin on the net post. Insert tension string through the top hole of the white tension tab. Hook the tab into place on the net post and tighten the string. The black adjustment screws are used to adjust the height of the net, and the white tabs adjust the tension. This concludes the assembly and operating instructions. Kettler wishes your family and friends a lifetime of